Okay, aloha everyone, and welcome back to Awakening to the Magic of the Menstrual Cycle Summit. I have the lovely Miss Margarita Alcantara here with us today. She is a certified acupuncturist, a Reiki master, an expert on the chakra system, and also activating the goddess codes within. And I'm really excited to have her on today. So welcome, Margarita.
Hey there, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you here with us. So, I'm wondering where we should start. I actually was kind of feeling like talking a little bit about the chakra system and how that correlates to the menstrual cycle.
Yeah. So, what did you have any specific questions about the chakra system pertaining to the menstrual cycle?
No, I guess it would probably just be, I mean, I'm thinking that it's going to be like more of a specific chakra, right? Like the sacral and the root chakra, they're more dominant.
Right, exactly. And the sacral plexus chakra also houses that goddess consciousness in our system. And so it's really interesting how, that sacral plexus chakra not only is it the seat of our creative expression and emotion and aspects of our sexuality, but obviously too it holds, those sacred vessels and areas for the goddess consciousness and our sexuality with our menstrual cycle. So I think it's just so interesting how it's all so connected together, that it's just all this feeling, emotion, generation, creation, energy, and all of that is like really focused in that chakra. So, and then of course the root chakra too is very much related as well.
Yeah, so just for anyone who isn't super familiar with the chakras, did you want to give just like a brief description of what exactly they are?
Sure. So there are 7 major chakra points in the body. I mean, there are various ones above us and below us, but for the purposes of just simplicity and just the system, there are 7 major ones, and each one is an energy vortex that connects us to the universe. I mean, we're really that magical. And when we actually tap into the energy of each one, it actually allows us to not only provide healing for ourselves, but creates a certain type of balance and also allows us to connect with the universe and the rest of the world in really optimal ways. And so the first one would be the root chakra, which is located at the perineum, basically between the genitals and the anus. The sacral plexus chakra, well, the root chakra is focused on grounding and being. And so anything around survival instincts, any fears that come up around survival especially will be coming up in the root chakra. The sacral plexus chakra is located around 1 to 2 inches below the navel, and that is resonating at the color orange, whereas the root resonates at the color red. And the sacral plexus chakra does focus on being that seat of creative expression, holding the emotion. Whenever we repress things, especially as women, when we repress when we repress any energy, emotion, feeling, it happens there. And so for a lot of women, when we then experience rage, it comes from that area not being fully expressed. And then so therefore, as you can imagine, there can be some imbalances that occur there, like fibroids and cysts and all kinds of things that grow there, right? And of course, it also affects our menstrual cycle. So, and that's something I see a lot too, when, as a licensed acupuncturist in private practice here in New York City. The menstrual cycle does get thrown off when our emotions are not dealt with, when we're stressed out, obviously when our hormones are not balanced. And honestly, from what I've noticed, when women balance themselves on the chakra levels, they actually also even out with their menstrual cycle. But as you were asking about the other chakras as well, the solar plexus chakra is about 2 inches above the navel. It resonates at the color yellow. It is that chakra that focuses on our power. And so any issues around self-esteem, self-worth, control, being controlled, being controlling, that all happens there. And then our heart is basically that central chakra point that connects those lower physical chakras that I just mentioned with the upper chakras that I'm about to mention. And of course, the heart chakra is all about connecting us to our love, compassion, and really our whole being. And really, honestly, in my opinion, that's where our true power is. And then the throat chakra is resonates with the color light blue, and it's all about our expression. And our sacral plexus chakra is very much connected to our throat chakra. So they're very related. Like if one is off, the other one gets affected like immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the third eye, located between the brows, resonates at the color indigo and is very much about our consciousness, developing our higher consciousness, our inner wisdom. And when we get too caught up in logic and linear thinking and needing proof and that kind of thing, that's a little out of balance. And then the crown chakra is about our connection to God, source, great spirit. And so when that's out of balance, that might look like not trusting God, feeling unsupported, feeling like you're in this alone, being angry at God kind of thing. So that's kind of a little quickie on the chakra system.
Beautiful. I'm not sure if we skipped over the color of the heart chakra or not.
Yes, thank you. It's green. Green
Yeah,
is the color of the heart, yes.
awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I have just been thinking, I'm very curious as to like how that sacral chakra changes like when you're bleeding. I'm wondering if it like opens more or like be more active.
Yeah, it can be. It definitely has the potential to be. It really depends on where you're at, because some women will actually constrict in that area, and then sometimes that will create like cramping. The emotions are not really dealt with. So I mean, I've kind of seen it across the board, honestly. And then there will be women who will actually just really be like in their blood, in their blood cycle and like really in fullest expression, and they're like really in that energy, right? So I've seen that too. When it's a little bit more like there's so much cramping going on, there's a lot of, kind of resistance towards oneself. There's a lot of kind of resisting emotions, resisting our energy, resisting our power. Because, I mean, even though the sacral plexus is not technically the power center, there is so much power held there, as you can imagine. I mean, it also radiates with abundance too, when you're really in that sexual energy. And so it's just like all this birthing energy. And so like when women are not comfortable with the birthing of their own creation, whatever that means for them, that can create constriction, especially during the menses. And there's that internal resistance that occurs. And so that can sometimes create like physical pain. It can sometimes create like an offness, even in the menstrual cycle, where it's not fully flowing. It might be a little like constricted. It might be even irregular. So I've seen that happen too.
So many different imbalances that can take place.
Absolutely.
Just been learning about how women in particular have so much creative energy that needs to be expressed through them in multiple avenues in healthy ways. And just the fact, like, if you don't have creative outlets, how that can create imbalances and stagnation in like a number of ways. It really makes me think about how, I mean, women suffer from so many different issues when it comes to all of their lady parts. And I can't help but wonder if like cysts and growths and all kinds of problems down there are due to not having the avenues to allow that creative energy to flow through them, which
Absolutely.
which would kind of like equal more like a closed chakra, right? One that needs to
Yeah.
be opened more.
Yeah. Well, you hit on something that's very, like, unfortunately common for a lot of women. And that's just really not being in fullest expression and not being in that creative birthing allowance, because I've actually seen it kind of congeal, like both of those issues congeal. And, just to be even transparent with my own journey, that's something that I experienced, and this happened like a couple of years ago. But basically, we create these things such as cysts and fibroids and things like that. And I did that for myself. I created a bunch of fibroids. And honestly, if I were to be honest with myself, that was due to me not allowing myself to birth my power. Like, I was really suppressing my power so strongly. And that took the form of even my emotions, like not allowing myself to feel my emotions, not allowing myself to have them be fully expressed, or that kind of thing. And so I was really stifling my personal growth on purpose. And at the time, it was because I guess it was just trying to fit in, that kind of thing, which obviously is not an issue anymore. But the thing is that it was an issue, and it is for a lot of women. And so honestly, because of a lot of unhealed stuff that I hadn't dealt with, that festered within me, this growth, like various growths, honestly, of fibroids, which were, thankfully just benign reminders of, hey, I'm holding all of this tension, all of this stuff that you were actually meant to birth, and you're not birthing it, and so that's, so I was like, okay, message received, and I worked with that energy. And for me, I chose to take care of it through surgery as well as other modalities, for myself. But that was really a powerful transformative period for me, because we create these things in ourselves, to like really bring about a catalytic experience, of healing, so that we can be like, okay, I got it. I get to birth. I get to birth my creative flow and show up in the world,
Yeah. I love how you say that, I get to. Definitely. Um, yeah. So I'm wondering, I definitely know that this is something that a lot of women, I honestly feel like most women don't even know that there's something that needs to be birthed through them. And oftentimes, when you talk about birth, it's really only in the context of birthing another human being, when there's so many more expressions of birth. I'm so grateful that you got that message from your body. I have experienced that personally, from my own body, that if there's something that I'm not paying attention to, there's some type of message that is like trying to get my attention, and I'm not paying attention enough, eventually something will manifest in my body physically to get my attention. It's really like amazing how it it always exists in the non-physical before it comes into the physical, and that's just it, like the voice getting loud enough to get your attention. And um there's like so much more to it if you really look into why anything is manifesting physically.
Yeah.
It's usually not just because something is physical. It's so much more complex than that. And there's usually always a soul message that
Mm.
is trying to be delivered to you,
I love that soul message. And that's so true. And I mean, because I actually see that so much in my private practice too, that whole, like, it's almost kind of like the universe or your higher self is like knocking on the door on that outer energetic field. And then, if we get it, awesome, you know, and then we'll like work through our stuff and make our shifts. But then what often happens is that we'll ignore those signs, which are really our divine, intuitive tips, right? And so if we ignore it, it just comes closer and closer and closer until it manifests in the imbalance that we're not paying attention to the most. And, you know, so sometimes it'll show up as like a physical, like, wow, my shoulder hurts, or my neck hurts, or I'm getting this imbalance, you know, in my pelvis, or, you know, it shows up either as physical pain, usually because that's literally our body saying, pay attention to me, you know,
Yeah.
you're not listening. And so sometimes people listen way before that happens, which is great. And that's why this whole thing around paying attention to your body and honoring your body is so, so important. It's not just this airy-fairy concept thing, right? It's like, if you don't, it actually becomes a health issue. And then, you know, like, sometimes you can still address it then, but sometimes it gets really intense. So, you know, we get to do that internal work so that we can tell before it gets so close. And then we can really honor our bodies, honor our spirits, and get on with ourselves, right? Like, and because, yeah, I've seen it actually where, you know, people have been very proactive in the beginning. And then I've also seen it on the other side where, you know, like sometimes I've seen cancer survivors who are moving through their stuff with like pieces of their bodies removed, you know, because it got infested, you know, with those cancer cells. And so, you know, by that time they come to me, they're like, okay, what do I do? What am I missing? You know, and then we'll talk, and, you know, and they get a treatment and all that. But it's just so powerful how, you know, our bodies speak to us. It's really just a dialogue that we get to pay attention to.
Definitely. I completely agree. So on the topic of allowing that creative energy to express through you and the things that want to birth out of you, I'm wondering if you have some advice for women who want to help allow their creative energy to flow more, and maybe like tap into what is wanting to birth through them. I wonder if you have any thoughts on how women can start to help cultivate new channels for their creativity to be expressed through.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the quickest, fastest ways to kind of see where you can birth is to find out where you're getting stuck in the birthing. And even if you're just like, you know, not in that space of, you know, wow, gee, I'm feeling stuck in my birthing. Like, some people are not thinking that way, right? But what you can say, probably what some women are saying in the middle of the night is, I'm not okay with XYZ in my life. You know, like, these are areas where I'm feeling stuck. You know, maybe it's in their relationship, maybe it's in their career, maybe it's in the impact they're trying to make in the world, but something is not feeling right, you know, and that's where you can start. Because, you know, that's really the fastest, easiest way to be like, okay, something's amiss. And then you get to go in and be intentional, and be okay with the discomfort that you might find upon exploring that. Because the truth is, that very thing that we fear about ourselves, which has thus created this imbalance, is really the key to our power and the key to what we're here to birth. So it would really be to start getting honest with ourselves, see where we're feeling stuck, and then say, well, what would I like instead? You know? And so let's say if someone's not feeling fulfilled in their career, like maybe they're in a dead-end job or something and they're not feeling very creative, then if they were really honest with themselves, they can say, you know what, this job I'm not feeling it. You know, I'm not feeling juicy. I'm not feeling creative. I don't feel like I'm in my flow. Okay, what next? What do I get to do? What do I want to do? And then you can replace that with, opening and dreaming into, well, if I really, really desired, this is what I'd want to do. And then you just like really go into it and allow yourself to dream, because the dream is part of the inspiration and it's part of the creative energy. And it is what will propel you into the opening. And so, so first get honest with yourself, see where you're feeling stuck, see where you'd like to open into, what you'd really, really love instead. Explore that and allow yourself to flow and open. And that's a key point, is allowing yourself to get in touch with your heart, because when you do, it's like you really get in touch with it all. And then just allow yourself to open up into it. And then just like drop into the feeling of it in your pelvis, drop into the feeling of what you want to feel instead, because the truth is it doesn't happen all up here. Like we need to feel it, you know, and if we don't, it doesn't happen, because then, you know, it's not gelling. But you feel it in your body, and then then you can get in touch with what you desire and what you are here to create. And then just really, you know, start tapping into that frequency of, well, what do I want to create? And then just allow yourself to get drawn to all of those things, you know, whether it be people, inspiring modalities. Maybe it's healing yourself. Maybe it's, you know, exploring Tantra. Maybe it's exploring art or something, you know, but just like allow yourself to get drawn and then go there. And especially if you're feeling a little like you haven't allowed yourself before to do that, like just go there, you know, and just give yourself permission to be in the fullness of your expression. Like, I mean, that was a little bit of a long-winded answer, but that was my vibe.
It's beautiful. I love that. Just go there. So it's basically taking an honest look at what's not in alignment with your life. And that alone takes enough, like a lot of courage, and allowing yourself to dream and really get in touch with your desires. That's something that I still feel like so many people have not spent very much time on, just pondering what it is they actually want, because everybody's, you know, most of everyone's time has been monopolized by doing things that they don't want. And there has been no emphasis on actually truly getting in touch with our own desires and what sparks our interest and what excites us. And yeah, I think that's really powerful. Thank you for sharing that. That was a powerful answer. Just taking a look at what's not in alignment and letting yourself dream and
and
what you
absolutely. And because, I mean, honestly, women, we've been conditioned, right? We've been conditioned to not be in touch with our bodies. We've been conditioned to not get in touch with our feelings. We've been taught that it's dangerous, it's not acceptable, it's not okay. And so, I mean, I'm actually not surprised that there's so much suppression of our creative juice and flow and that dream state, because we've been taught it's not okay, you know? So, I mean, of course we want to be okay. We want to be accepted and loved. And so we'll do what it takes, right? And sometimes that means shutting ourselves down. So that's where we get to also demonstrate a tremendous amount of compassion to ourselves. And we get to forgive ourselves, you know, once we're ready to do that, you know, and just be like, damn, I'm sorry, you know, like, I'm sorry that I didn't listen to you, my beautiful body and my dream and my essence and my purpose, you know, I'm sorry. And I'm ready for it now, you know, and just like, cause it doesn't matter if you've negated it for so many years. What matters is that you step up now, you know, that's what's important.
Definitely. Beautiful. Thank you for that. Okay, so I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to hear some about activating the goddess codes.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that work.
Thank you. Well, so the goddess codes, they are that divine feminine energy. I mean, we all got it, no matter what gender we are or identify as. We've all got divine masculine, divine feminine within us. And, you know, the energy of this planet has been very patriarchal, which is not, you know, a newsflash. But what might be a newsflash is that the truth is that the divine feminine is here, and it's something that we get to embody and trust and move into. And sometimes what I've noticed with women is that we sometimes need that permission to, or give ourselves permission to just embody our power. And so my work in activating these power codes for goddesses is really meant to assist them in awakening, almost kind of like unlocking with a key. These codes that we all have them. We all have these power codes, but honestly, there's been a lot of programming in our genetic coding that has prevented us from really accessing it, you know. And then the old energy that is now actually dead, it has actually energized that suppression of the divine feminine energies. And so that's no longer happening, but some women are still operating from that known system. And so my work is really to unlock those divine power codes in goddesses so that they're like, whoa, okay, this is my capacity. I get to be activated into it. I get to honor myself fully. I get to express myself. You know, it's like this awakening. It's like a different type of awakening, but it's on that even cellular level and on the DNA level, really. And so how it looks like, it looks like me leading you through a visualization or meditation, but what I'm actually doing is that the words are actually creating like kind of a higher level activation on a higher consciousness level, and kind of opening up a primary timeline, which is really aligned with your truth, working with this new earth energy and higher energy frequencies, and just tapping into that accelerated field. And just like, you know, like anything, like as long as the person's ready, right? If they're like, you know, I'm done with this old stuff, I'm ready to let go of all this fear, I'm ready to just show up and be on point, you know, then we're like, awesome. And then we just kind of like transpose the primary timeline of their true power over that now displaced tertiary timeline that was resonating with fear and their incapabilities and how they didn't feel like they were like they could do it, right? Because that's a lot of the times when women don't step forward in their power, it's because they just feel like they can't, you know.
Yeah.
They don't feel capable. They don't feel like physically they can do it. They feel like they don't have time or money or energy, or, you know, they're not lovable. So all of it, right? So when I activate the goddess codes in a woman, it actually will kind of like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, you see those spies and then you see like the code word banana and then they're like activated, you know. It's like, it's kind of like that. It's like activating them, unlocking that, and then they're just like, you know, like kind of emancipated into their divineness, you know, because I mean, we really are divine and we forgot and we get to remember.
Yeah, that sounds so powerful. So it's in essence helping activate someone into their fullest, most authentic embodiment.
Yeah,
Their
yeah,
human form.
yeah.
That's so powerful.
It is. It actually also happens on a physical level too. Like the brain will start restructuring and, you know, the synapses fire differently, and it's just like the body responds differently. And literally what some of my clients have actually said afterwards was, wow, I mean, they're kind of done, like all the old stuff that they were grappling with after the activations, they're like done. It's not even a thing anymore. Like they don't even identify with it. And so it's just this physical embodiment of who they really, really are, which is power. Like, I mean, each and every one of us, that's our truth, is just like this embodiment of power and divinity. You know, we're all divine.
That sounds like some really fulfilling work.
Yeah, it is.
It's got to be really awesome to be able to witness that transformation in people and what a blessing to be able to be the conduit and facilitator of something like that.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. It's
Yeah.
it's a blast.
When you were talking about activating these goddess codes, it was reminding me of what I call the divine feminine awakening that I experienced, even though I didn't have a facilitator. I was very much so going through a massive transformative time and experiencing a lot of healing. And I think I must have sort of activated some of that on my own, because it was a huge shift and my entire life changed. And the only way that I could describe it is that it was a divine feminine force within me rising up and letting herself be heard. And that has been the energy basically that has been guiding me ever since that, years ago, down this path. And yeah, it definitely changed my life. It was kind of like accidental, even though I don't believe in accidents, but I'm grateful that I had the experience and that it has eventually led me to amazing women like you creating stuff like this.
Yeah, it's really awesome, and that's really great, because I mean, sometimes we awaken ourselves, if we're primed, if we're doing that internal work. And it sounds like that's something that occurred with you, is that, and that was something too that I think the very first one I experienced was before I got into all this stuff, into all this work. And earlier on, I did a lot of work with Isis. And one thing that came through was, she came through with this, she put this golden armor on me, and she said that I was this warrior of light. And I felt it, like, I mean, I was glowing out of my eyes, and it was just like an amazing, powerful experience. And I think it was the very first time that happened, like that, my very first time of an activation, and so, it depends, like, I mean, when you're doing that work, that internal spiritual work, and you're willing to go to those deep, dark places that most people are scared of, that kind of stuff does happen, so, I mean, it really, and it takes courage. So I just also want to say that too, because some people think that love and light is just like, picking daisies in the meadows and stuff, and it's not that. It's like, snot is hanging out the nose. It's like mascara's running down. I mean, it's not cute often.
Yeah.
If it's done right.
Yeah.
So, and the truth is, we get to honor that catalyst. We get to honor how we rise up from the ashes and be that phoenix, and rise up into our personal creation, because we really created ourselves, right? Like, we incarnated, and yeah, technically we were birthed, but like, we birthed ourselves. We like made a choice to come here and get birthed, especially during this powerful planetary awakening time, on purpose. That's how powerful we are as human beings. So yeah, and that takes courage to go in there.
Man, it takes so much courage just to come to Earth, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be a human and experience in the body all of these emotions and sensations, and just be here, it takes so much courage. And when you really start doing the internal work and the personal transformation journey, there's so many layers that have to be shed, and there's like so many kind of like deaths that you have to move through and mourn through, like dying like to certain identities that you, like, your entire being seemed to be attached to. And it's remarkable how you can like move through a death and feel like it should have killed you physically, and it doesn't, and you somehow survive it and like blossom into even more amazingness afterwards.
That's the real birth, that's the death of our ego, like on many different occasions, and then the birthing that happens afterwards of like, oh, this is why I'm here, right? I mean, because I mean, before we incarnated on this planet, we had this grand idea. We're like, oh my God, awesome, Earth, let's do it. It's going to be a great experience, right?
Yeah.
And you know, and the truth is, we came here because we have the tools, and you know, we have all these things that we get to add, right, to the mix. And so we have all these various powers, and we come here with them. And then our work is we get to, you know, kill off the ego so that we can get in touch with, oh yeah, I've got these powers. And oh yeah, my mission is actually to show up and do XYZ, right?
Mhm.
Like, and so it's like this period of dying in order to remember and to be rebirthed into our full form. And honestly, that was part of the reason why we wanted to incarnate, was because we got to feel all these emotions. We got to be able to taste like delicious foods, and we got to have pleasure in the body. We got to experience all of this, right? Like that's what we signed up for.
Yeah.
But you know, at the same time, some of those feelings are very intense, you know, and can make us feel like we're being taken out, right?
Totally.
So, but that's part of the beauty, right? Like if we don't go through that and we don't realize, damn, I am that powerful that I was able to move through that, despite, like, you know, what I thought was my truth, dying, and now dead on the floor in this like carcass on the floor. And then here I am in this raw, like tender state, and I'm
Yeah.
still here, you know? And so that is just like, that takes tremendous courage. And it takes also like an ownership of power, because you can't get to that place if you're like, no, I'm not willing to do the work. You know, it just doesn't happen.
Definitely. Well, and I kind of feel like there's a lot of people on the planet right now that are more or less being forced to start doing the work.
Absolutely.
And it's, yeah, the way that you put that, you know, like when we're moving through that, like shedding the old skin, I always think of it like a snake, and how you feel so vulnerable and you have like this fresh new like baby skin underneath, and you just like have to be really loving to yourself and compassionate while that new skin begins to form and you like grow into this new version of yourself. It's, yeah, it's pretty spectacular. So I was just talking recently about how women experience a certain level of death and rebirth every month for their cycle. And I feel like taking some of the advice that you said earlier about kind of like looking at what's out of alignment in your life and where you're stuck, and really allowing yourself to dream and get in touch with your desires and your true wants and your dreams. I feel like that would be a really good thing for women to do while they bleed, where it's the natural time to go inside. And I mean, I personally refer to the womb as a portal, because it is between the spirit world, physical world, and I just always intuitively feel like it's very open and active while we're bleeding, and we have a much stronger, clearer connection to source. So I feel like that's a really powerful time for women to do that type of work and journey inwards with themselves and dig for those answers and insights that they need.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, it's a time where we get to be in our flow, quite literally, you know, like, I mean, because it's really this invitation to go deeper. And it's really those women who will resist that, who will have difficulty during this period, because it's really the symbolic resistance of our own selves, you know. And but if we allow ourselves to sit with any discomfort, you know, and to be connected. I mean, that's very much on the physical level, emotional level, etheric, energetic level, all the different levels, you know, and being with your flow, and just being in the embodiment of it, and whatever, you know, melting into that, just allows you to open in greater detail. And it also allows you to tap into like just higher wisdom, you know, like just that, you know, just tapping in. And that's if you allow yourself, right? I mean, we all have that access.
Definitely. Yeah, and I'm feeling like there's even more potential for a woman to possibly activate the divine feminine goddess codes within her during that time, if she's able to really be intentional with her cycle and have some form of like focus with it and what she wants to do with herself. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would agree on that. And honestly, it's, you know, women, when they do that internal work, that can happen at any time in their cycle, not only during the time when they're bleeding. But that said, you know, it is a portal when they are bleeding, because it is this, this shedding of that layer, you know, and the shedding of what has been there before, you know, and it's this monthly reminder of, wow, you know, I get to release this. And also just to kind of, something that came in just now was that in Chinese medicine, the qi and the blood travel together. And so, you know, so there's this energy that, this old energy that leaves, and it leaves with the old blood, you know, and we actually generate, like our bodies will literally generate blood, generate chi and energy, to replace that old stuff, you know. And so it's this renewal of getting to be able to choose again, you know, because sometimes we get too caught up in, oh, I did this and I did that, you know, back in the day. And it's like, honestly, it doesn't matter, because you get to make a choice now, and you get to commit to whatever that is, you know. And so it's this reminder of, you get to renew, and you get to actually regenerate yourself, because that's literally what's happening in our womb during that time.
Definitely. Yeah, I have always felt like in some form or another, my being kind of like collects all the stagnation and anything that's like heavier or more denser frequencies, and anything that just isn't serving me, and kind of like sends it to my womb to bleed down and out of me, so that I can be clean and fresh afterwards. I feel like it's a really beautiful process, honestly.
Yeah, and you can channel that too, you know, like, I mean, for excuse me, for the women who are doing that internal work, you can actually like just channel it, and you can direct your energy. You know, when you get really masterful at energy work, you can actually direct the flow in your body. And so you can literally just be like, okay, all that stuff that I've been holding in my shoulder around not speaking my truth,
Mm,
sending it down into my flow, letting it release, thank you, goodbye, you know, and releasing it into the earth, you know, and just really be getting skilled, getting masterful at our energy, and allowing our bodies to assist with that, that flow, you know, on the various levels.
yeah, that's really beautiful. I love that. And I'm actually going to use that. I'm getting ready to bleed in a few days.
Yeah,
I
I just finished.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
feel like what happened the last time we connected.
Yes, I know. That's true.
It's so funny. Oh yeah, like when, like to be able to utilize your cycle and be more intentional with it, and um like think about things you've been holding on to, whether that be a resentment or anger or unresolved issues with who or whatever, and intentionally give your body permission to release it, while there's such a powerful force and energy of releasing that's just naturally happening in you. That's really, that's really powerful. And I am really excited for all the women watching this and being able to absorb all of this information. Thank you so much for sharing all of this wisdom.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So before we wrap it up, is there anything in particular that you feel women should know right now?
Well, what should women know right now? I'm just going to tap into that for a sec.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first thing that came to mind was you get to trust your body. You get to trust the innate wisdom. You get to listen to her. You get to pay attention to her. You get to co-create with her. And because the truth of that is that, I know that sounds very simplistic for me to say, but the reality is that, you know, I've seen it on both ends, where women are totally honoring their bodies and, you know, working with their energies, and they're birthing so much powerful stuff and moving through things, and they're with flow, right? That's part of the divine energy. The divine feminine energy is to trust the intuition and trust the flow and to trust the mystery, right? You know, because women, we get too like stuck in our heads a lot of times, and we're like, okay, if it doesn't look like this, then it's not real, or, you know, it needs to look a certain way, and we get into this controlling thing, right? But that's all because we're not trusting our path. It's because we're not trusting the mystery. And so we get to trust not only our bodies, but we get to trust the mystery of it all, you know. So we get to be okay with uncertainty. We get to be okay with, okay, what, like, listening to our body. So if something's going on in the shoulder, like, to be inquisitive and to get curious and to be like, okay, what are you trying to tell me? You know, I'll actually do that, you know, like, and I invite my patients to do that too, is, you know, if something's going on and it's not as a result of like physical trauma, then you get to like connect with it and just be like, okay, I got it. You're trying to connect with me. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to tell me? You know, and that can sometimes happen in the womb. It can happen anywhere in the body. And you get to listen, because that's intel. That's higher level intel from your higher self saying, pay attention to this, honor this. This is part of what's going to emancipate you into your power. So we get to honor that. We get to trust our bodies, trust the intuition, you know, our intuition, and we get to trust the mystery of the unknown, knowing, you know, because there's a certain sense of trust that occurs when you do that. You know, there's a certain amount of surrender that is required in order to do that. There's a certain amount of trust in like God's source, great spirit, you know, universe, in order to do that. And so that is really the secret, you know, to just, you know, not allowing yourself to get caught up, because it's very easy to get caught up. So that's really what I wanted to share on that.
Beautiful. I just heard a big message of just trusting, and just when you can actually access that level of trust, it's amazing how much that can transform your life, when you don't have to have everything figured out, and you don't have to, you know, stay stuck in your mind and be trying to think about all of the details and future planning. And if you could just really drop down and be in your body and not stuck in your head, and be present and know that you're taken care of, and the path is going to continue to unfold in front of you no matter how far you can see it right now. That's really where I feel like the doors to like true magic and miracles open, when you can really root down in a deep level of trust in yourself and your connection with whatever divinity you are connected to and believe in.
Yeah. And absolutely. And I mean, even just in the times we're in, right? Like, we're really being almost forced to, you know, like, take a look at how we view our bodies, right? Because there are a lot of people who are not trusting their bodies. There are a lot of people who are in panic and fear because they're not trusting their bodies. And so, you know, that's why this work is so important, to get in touch with yourself, to trust your body, because when you do, you get to just like harness this natural immunity this, you know, of like what's the word? Immunizing yourself against fear, you know,
Yeah.
because you actually trust yourself and you're just like, I'm good, you know,
Yeah.
with my body and my heart and my soul and my spirit, you know, so that's tremendous, you know. So now people are starting to notice that there is a very specific correlation with being in touch with ourselves on that spiritual, physical level and what shows up in the world. You know, they're starting to know that there's a connection there.
Yeah. Thank goodness. I
Yeah.
When you start that dialogue, like you were talking about, with your body and actually turning your attention to it and listening to it and asking it to talk to you, I feel like that kind of like helps the innate intelligence of your body really come online and start to work with you. And that builds this bridge of a deeper level of trust in yourself and your body to know what to do and to remember that your body is freaking amazing and is self-regenerating. I mean, to be able to just like, you know, go cut yourself and literally not have to fix it, not have to do anything, just clean it and watch your body be the miracle that it is and just magically create new flesh in front of your eyes and regrow itself. Like, I'm just really excited for more of the collective to start opening their eyes to how powerful
Yeah.
the innate intelligence of their body is and realize that we are so much more than just the flesh. There's
Yes.
so much more that goes on with it.
Mm-hmm. And
That
then
we
when,
can trust.
totally. And when you can actually, when you can actually merge the flesh, the body, the physicality with spirit, with soul, with heart, with universal cosmic frequency and earthing it with Gaia, you know, it's like, then you're just like unstoppable because you are like embodied, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, as you were saying, like our bodies are so amazing, we can just regenerate ourselves. And I mean, even like we're our bodies are so amazing that there are so many pathogens and viruses that it has already like moved through our system and we're not even aware of it because it happened already, you know. It's just, it's amazing like how our bodies function.
Yeah. I mean, I I think about that often actually, about how like my body gets exposed to all kinds of stuff all the time, but I don't worry about it. I trust it because I know that it's doing what it needs to do. I mean, granted, I support it as best as I can with a clean diet and a healthy lifestyle and continuing to cultivate that connection with the innate intelligence of my body so that it knows that I'm supporting it and trusting it. But like once you really wake up and turn your conscious attention to your body, like I have this concept. I think of it like I call it like the smart body. I think of it like the original cell phone, like a flip phone before smartphones came. Like the huge like dimension that was unleashed once we got the smartphone. I kind of think about that with the body. Like once you actually wake up and start that dialogue with it and start trusting it, I personally feel like it activates its own innate intelligence even more. And then you really start working with it and just learn to trust and not worry about so much and know that it has everything that it needs to take care of itself. And all you have to do basically is just stay out of the way.
Yeah, just get on board and stay out of the way and just, you know, listen. And I mean, it's like there's so much intelligence in our bodies, you know, and it holds so much intelligence. And you know, when we trust it, then we actually signal to it, yeah, I get it. I trust you. And then, and when you do that, then as you mentioned, there's almost like you just get regular downloads and you don't have to fight yourself, you know. So it becomes this synergistic, um, embodiment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it definitely starts to behave differently when you really truly start to open your eyes to the divine gift that it is. And it just reminds me of like our relationship with Gaia, how when we actually really start to open our eyes to the way to have a right relationship with her, how much magic and wonder is always right there, only we have been blind to it. And it just takes switching something on, or possibly finding a key, like you were saying earlier, and unlocking something to have like your whole paradigm change. Even though it was already there, it just took some form of adjustment or activation within you to be able to access a different experience.
Yeah. It's like there needs to be this willingness, right? Because it's almost like that's the permission you give yourself to enter into your divinity, your divine self. You know, it's like you need to give yourself permission. And until that happens, that can be a very difficult time, right? Like to, you know, because then again, you'll be fighting yourself if you don't do that, you know.
Definitely. Wow, what a beautiful exchange of energy with you.
Yeah, amazing.
Thank you so much for your time today and for contributing to this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's just, I just feel very blessed and honored to be connecting with you and all of the amazing women that are on this. And just one more thing before we get off. Did you have a gift that you were offering the audience?
Yes, I do. I've got a throat chakra power activation video, and that's my gift to your audience, because I'd love to help women really emancipate that power at their throat, because that's something that women get to be more fully expressed in, is that there's been a silencing that's occurred. And sometimes most of the time it was learned, you know, at an early time. Sometimes it happened in previous lifetimes, and then we just carried it into this lifetime. But in this lifetime, we get to be fully expressed. We get to be part of that change we want to be in the world by expressing our voice and emancipating ourselves from that silencing, you know, whether it be because we learned it or because we just kept going with it, or whatever the case is. So this video is really to activate that power potential that we all have at our throat chakra, at our throat chakras, so that we can really just speak our truth, create the world that we want to create, you know, since it's so linked to the sacral plexus, and express that goddess consciousness into the world.
That sounds very powerful. Thank you so much for offering that, just to be able to help women find their voices. That alone could change the world.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Tremendous.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that pretty much does it. I think we covered some really beautiful points, and for everybody that's watching, I will include a link to that throat chakra video that Margarita just mentioned. So be on the lookout for that. And thank you so much, Margarita, for your beautiful energy and for all the wisdom that you shared with us today. And thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in and for finding the courage within you to get in touch with your desires and trust your bodies more and find your truth. And just thank you so much, everyone, for being here with me in this now moment.
Thank you.
Okay, have a beautiful rest of your day. Aloha.